I like these words from Isaiah. But those who trust in the Lord for help will find their strength renewed. They will rise on wings like eagles. From Paul I chose these words. So I become all things to all men, that I may save some of them, by whatever means. And from Jesus, we must go on to other villages around here. So, as I said to Chris, a speaker tells them what he's going to tell them, then he tells them, and then he tells them what he told them. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to tell you. Trusting in God yields resiliency. 1. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. 2. And 3. Sometimes we just move on. Okay? I think that resiliency is one of the best qualities a person can have. The ability to get back up, dust yourself off, and start over again and keep going. There are some who get broken by life and then never recover. After whatever it was that happened that brought them down, the rest of their lives seem to be clouded by that event. Ever since the accident, ever since my husband died, ever since whatever it was, some people just can't seem to come back. To this, Isaiah asks, have you not heard? Have you not seen? And then he goes on to cite the power of God that can raise even you up. The God who created the universe, who placed the stars in the skies, who invented the power of the wind and the power of the water. That God can bring you back. And his words go on, but those who trust in the Lord for help find their strength renewed. In a hymn that I learned as a child, there are words that have often rekindled my spirit. Maybe you know the hymn. Have thine own way, Lord, have thine own way. You are the potter, I am the clay. Mold me and make me after thy will, as I am patient or standing, yielding and still. In other words, I will trust you to get me out of the mess that I'm in. I will trust you to bring me back from whatever it was that has me sad. I say this because I know it's true. And so did Isaiah. Trusting in God helps us to be resilient. And it isn't only from major disasters that we can be brought back. We also need to be resilient from the things that people say. Or in our world, for things that people text. I spoke to a woman recently who told me that she got an upsetting text. And it was because she didn't hear the tone of the words when they were texted. She got all upset at something that turned out to be nothing. She took offense at words because she did not hear the tone. Maybe that has happened to you. And you had to fire a text back to find out what it was the person was actually saying. But there are words that penetrate right to our bone, right through our hearts. In somebody's opinion, lowlifes. Or what we did or what we said was simply uncalled for and awful. And then they tell us, or they call us names. To stay resilient in the face of that kind of thing is sometimes really hard. But it is also necessary. And trusting God helps us to come back and carry the day. To be resilient on our way through this life is required if we're going to be happy. No matter how sad, how hurtful, how unfair it was, whatever it was that just happened to you, Isaiah says, he will raise you up on eagle's wings. When I've been called to task, I've caught myself walking away saying under my breath, well, at least Jesus loves me. And it has brought me back, those words. Resiliency, trusting in God, helps us be that. Paul says, when he's among the Jews, he observes what they observe. When he's among the Gentiles, he observes what they observe. Among the weak, I become one of them. I become all things to all people that I may bring them to life. My words are the cliche, when in Rome, do what the Romans do. Here's what I learned from these words. In our living for Jesus, we do not have to be consistent. Got that? That's not what you said yesterday. No, this is today. In following Jesus, we do not have to be consistent. We are free to take on different personas in order that our light shine in the midst of those we are with. Pastor Justin Grimm sits in the bar with a beer in his hand conducting a Bible study. Many pastors and church members join construction workers building houses and digging trenches where the behavior and the language is often blue. Youth pastors often learn the language and behaviors of the young people so they can better relate to young people's issues. We've learned in our travels with our camper, there is a campground style. There is a gypsy on the road style. The suggestion here by Paul is that we can become somewhat like chameleons to fit in and then stand out as we reveal our light and our joy. This week, this happens to old people, this week I saw 3 doctors and had 1 ultrasound. In every case, I began as a patient reporting my symptoms or my condition, and then listening to the doctors, the ones that I trust with my life. But then in 2 of these cases, the situation changed, and I moved up to their level as I felt myself lifting both of their spirits. That really happened. One of the reasons I gave up wearing the clerical collar, nothing against those that do, is because of these words from Paul. I learned that it's more difficult to fit in when you so obviously don't. You understand what I'm saying? I met a priest who I learned to love because I said to him, how come you don't have your priest stuff on? I don't need that camouflage, he said. On Sundays, however, I dress up, as you can see, because this is our place. This is our Rome. And what goes on here, I want to help you feel that it's special. For 1 hour a week, we are lifted out of the daily routine, okay? And my dressing up, I hope, helps us feel that way. Feel special. So whatever it takes, however we do it, the goal or our calling is to help people feel that they are loved and that their life can be meaningful. Just know that we do not have to be consistent as we live out the admonition that was given to us in our baptism, to let our light so shine before others that they may see our good works and give glory to the Father in heaven. Finally, there are two things I want to point out in the gospel. First, Jesus moved on. And secondly, he demonstrated that the forces that diminish life had no power over him. Let me read that again. The forces that diminish life had no power over him. It seems like he didn't care who said what about it. He didn't care. Call me whatever you want to call me. But I'm going on doing what I've been called to do. Jesus moved on and demonstrated that the forces that diminish life had no power over him. People who are resilient like that, who cannot be brought down, actually give life to and heal other people. Now, I do not know how some people handle what life has given them to handle, and how they keep on going with smiles on their faces. But they do. And they give life to me, and I hope they give life to you. Jesus was someone like that. And he drew people to him. The other thing in this story I want us to notice is that he moved on. It says he healed Simon's mother-in-law. I wonder how Simon felt about that. I used to work for a guy that said, this glue is so good it'll stick your mother-in-law to a fast-moving freight. Anyway, Jesus healed Simon's mother-in-law and many others as the news spread, many others showed up to be healed the next day. But Jesus was nowhere to be found. He was out by himself, and when asked to go back to the crowd that was waiting for him, he said, no, we're moving on. Did you get that part of the story? No, we're moving on. What he knew was that there are people everywhere that could be helped by his presence. And that is still true today. There are people everywhere who can be helped by our presence. Most of us have found ourselves in places where people wanted us to stay. Oh, don't go. Oh, don't go. But we were pulled by a need to be somewhere else. I think there's permission in this gospel to just move on. No guilt, no bad feelings, just keep on going. I've always disliked having two places to be at the same time. Maybe you have too. You got a graduation and you got a wedding on the same day. Now what are you going to do? Two important things going on at the same time. When I have to choose one over the other, I really don't like that. But here, Jesus shows us how to do it. You just pick one and move on. You make a choice and keep going. So that's, I told you what I was going to tell you. I did tell you. And now I'm going to tell you what I told you. From Isaiah, resiliency is one of life's most important gifts. And trusting in God is the way you get it. There's no need to be consistent in following Jesus. When in Rome, do as the Romans do, in order that they can see your light. And from Jesus we learn, we do what we can, and then move on. Now, from Isaiah, on Eagle's Wings, we're going to sing on Eagle's Wings. It's a hard song to sing. And if you get a little confused in the verses, just read the words, okay? But we're going to get through it.